Darth Sidious, one of the most ruthless, evil, and twisted Sith that we've seen in Star Wars. As we've seen, he hated the Jedi with every inch of his body and stopped at nothing to ensure that they were killed and defeated. But just how many Jedi has he actually killed? Well, in this video, we're going to break down each and every Jedi that Palpatine killed, and as the list goes on, the kills only get more brutal. So let's get right into it. Number 1 to number 4. Starting out with the first 4 Jedi that Palpatine killed, we head into the more notable ones, which went down in Revenge of the Sith. As we saw, Palpatine was confronted by the Jedi Agent Kolar, Saesee Tiin, Kit Fisto, and Mace Windu. From there, we witnessed the duel go down, and within mere seconds, Palpatine sliced down Kolar, Tiin, and Fisto with ease. Although this already gave Palpatine 3 kills, as we saw, he was far from done. In the end, he was left with a final confrontation against Windu, and with the help of his future apprentice Anakin Skywalker, Windu's arm was sliced off and Palpatine unleashed a barrage of Force lightning right at him. As we've witnessed, Windu was no match for Palpatine's strength, and after being flung out of the window, this then gave Palpatine his 4th kill. However, the next kills on our list are ones we've never seen in the movies or shows. Number 5 to number 7. As for Palpatine's next 3 kills, these took place not long after Order 66. At one point, Palpatine wanted to play a little game, so with the help of his clones and royal guards, he captured 5 total Jedi. However, what happened next was absolutely sickening. Not only was this group of Jedi captured, but Palpatine also had his guards beat them up and starve them. In time, they were then eventually brought to Palpatine all on their knees, barely even able to speak or breathe. Then the unexpected happened. As they stood there, Palpatine handed them each a lightsaber and told them that he wanted each and every one of them to fight one another.
Here are your lightsabers, Jedi. Now, fight. The survivor shall be granted freedom.
However, the Jedi refused to play this game, so they all turned against him instead, and well, he started laughing. From there, he then leaped towards them, and within just seconds, he killed 3 of them with ease. As a result, only 2 Jedi now remained, but that wouldn't last long. Since one of them wanted the freedom that Palpatine promised, he turned on his fellow Jedi and stabbed her right through her chest. As he did, Palpatine began clapping his hands, amused by what just happened. So while there were originally 5 Jedi captured, Palpatine killed 3 of them, and another turned on his friend. Number 8 and number 9. Entering our next 2 kills by Palpatine, these also take place around the same as our last few. At one point, there was an ancient Jedi holocron called the Tedran holocron. This holocron was created about 4,000 years before the Clone Wars, and was known to hold extremely powerful knowledge. However, of course Palpatine being Palpatine was after this holocron. So he hired some of his best agents to go and hunt any Jedi who may know where this holocron was, and well, he was in luck. Eventually, his agents captured 2 separate Jedi named Boda Baas and Ashka Boda. From there, these 2 Jedi were questioned, tortured, and eventually killed by Palpatine himself. As a result of these 2 kills, Palpatine eventually obtained the holocron, but there was one problem. Since he was a Sith, he unfortunately could never open it. Unfortunately for him, only a Jedi Knight could access it, so in the end he failed, and he was never able to open the holocron. Number 10. At number 10, we have one of the more brutal kills by Palpatine himself. In the Force Unleashed video game, we see Vader recruit a young boy named Starkiller. From there, Vader raised him since he was a child, and trained him as his secret apprentice for years, all behind Palpatine's back. Vader hoped that with enough training, they could team up together, and one day overthrow the Emperor. However, let's just say that didn't happen. In time, Palpatine eventually found out about Starkiller, so when he did, he presented Vader with a choice: die by his hands or betray his apprentice to prove his loyalty. So, Vader chose Palpatine's side and then killed Starkiller by throwing him into space. But here's the catch. Behind Palpatine's back, Vader eventually brought Starkiller back to life. But unfortunately, even by doing this, their relationship was never the same after what happened. In time, Starkiller felt betrayed by Vader, and so he later fought him on the Death Star. Although the duel was close, Starkiller eventually defeated Vader and threw him to the ground. However, because it's a video game, you get to make 2 choices. You could either choose the light side ending or the dark side ending. In the light side ending, Starkiller and Palpatine then have a neck-to-neck duel, and well, things are pretty close. In the end though, Starkiller sacrifices himself and holds off Palpatine's powers so nearby rebellion leaders could escape. As a result, his plan worked and the rebellion leaders did escape, but sadly Starkiller was killed by Palpatine in this heroic sacrifice. However, in the dark side version of the game, things are a bit more brutal. After Starkiller defeats Vader, the Emperor then gets the upper hand and defeats Starkiller as well. However, instead of killing him, Palpatine had other uses for him. From there, Palpatine took Starkiller away and brought him to a medical bay for experimentation.
You had such promise. You could have been my successor, my equal. I still may have some small use for you.
In time, his plan worked, and Starkiller was transformed into a cyborg-like machine just like Vader. From there, Starkiller becomes his new apprentice, and Palpatine uses him as a tool to go and hunt down any surviving rebels. Now, despite this version being a lot more unrealistic, it's pretty cool to see, but regardless, the light side ending does in fact give Palpatine his 10th kill. Number 11. At number 11, we fast forward to the events of Return of the Jedi. Now, as we saw, Vader picked up Palpatine and threw him down the reactor shaft, but sadly as a result, Vader died just minutes later. However, here's the catch. A big debate in Star Wars is why Vader actually died. Well, there are a few reasons. The main reason was that Vader lost the will to focus on his hate and anger to keep him going. As we've seen countless times, Sith can call upon the dark side to keep himself alive. We saw Darth Maul do it after he was sliced down by Obi-Wan, and also Vader do the same back when he was cooked like a medium rare steak. Now, because Vader had returned as Anakin Skywalker at this point, he had no more desire to call upon his hatred, and instead he chose to let go. However, the reason why he even got into this position was because of this moment right here. As you can see, Palpatine shifted his focus with his Force Lightning and used it to attack Vader. As a result, he completely fried out his life support system, and so Vader could barely breathe by this point. So with that, you could technically say that Palpatine was responsible for the death of Darth Vader. Number 12 and number 13. At number 12 and number 13, we have the weirdest kills on this list. Now, after Palpatine's death in Return of the Jedi, we saw him return over 30 years later in The Rise of Skywalker. However, in the Legends timeline, things were a bit different. In Legends, he still survived, but to do this, he actually transferred his spirit into a secret clone body. To make this happen, he simply entered a new body when he was falling down the reactor shaft, and from there, his physical body died and his spirit lived on. Now, here's where things get really crazy though. After all this happened, Palpatine began to cause even more terror across the galaxy. In the Legends timeline though, Han and Leia also had a child, but his name wasn't Ben Solo. In this timeline, his name was actually Anakin Solo. Now, because Palpatine was twisted and evil, he actually wanted to use little Anakin Solo as a new host body for his spirit. So, one Jedi named Rey Fiasana tried to protect the child, but things didn't go so well for him. In the end, Palpatine hopped to another host body and unleashed a barrage of Force Lightning to kill the Jedi right then and there. However, that's not all. Not long after, another Jedi named Impado Jaos Bran also tried to protect little Anakin Solo. At the time, Bran was recognized as an extremely powerful Jedi, and at one point he was even Master Yaddle's apprentice. However, things were about to take a turn for him. As Palpatine kept trying to corrupt little Anakin, Bran tried to protect the child, and so as a result, Palpatine struck him with Force Lightning as well. From there, Palpatine kept going and tried to enter little Anakin, but that's when Bran did the unthinkable. Using all his remaining power in the light side, he was able to capture Palpatine's soul and trap him inside his body. Not long after though, Bran eventually died because of the Force Lightning from earlier, but Palpatine's soul was sent away with him when he died. Now of course this story defeats the main canon timeline, but it's still an interesting way to pick up some kills. With these 2 more kills though, that gives Palpatine a grand total of 13 kills so far. However, the list isn't quite done. Honorable mention. As an honorable mention, we go into none other than Order 66. Now this one is definitely up for debate whether or not you'd like to count these as kills, but technically it was Palpatine himself who commanded Order 66. As a result, about 10,000 Jedi died, all because of these words that Palpatine said.
Execute Order 66.
So while the clone troopers were the ones who got the job done, it wouldn't have happened without Palpatine giving the order. But I want to know from you, are you counting these 10,000 kills to his list, or are you just keeping it to 13? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.